Hey guys, what's up? So as you may or may not know, Ancestry recently did an update on their ethnicity, and so a lot of people's ethnicity has changed who have already tested with Ancestry. Now, if you tested within the past 6 months, it probably didn't change because you probably were already rolled into the new update, but if you've tested 6 months and prior, definitely go into your account, log in, and it will show you right away, if there was an update to your ethnicity results. It will say, do you want to view the updated version of your ethnicity results? And then you can view it, and then it will ask you if you're ready to accept it. Well, not accept it, but do you want to keep the old ethnicity, um, the old ethnicity numbers that they gave you, or do you want to keep the new ones? And so you can opt in to do that or not, whatever. If you have tested within the past 6 months, you can still log in. It'll let you know right away if there was any updates to your DNA results. So of course, in mine, there was an update. So before I get into that, which is kind of interesting, I just wanted to do a little quick video just explaining why Ancestry says that they changed um, our ethnicity results. And so I don't believe that it was like a huge change, because I noticed on mine some of my ethnicity is either a bigger percent or a smaller percent, or they might have taken away some ethnicity completely, but those were more like the 1%, 2%, or maybe even less than 1%. So if you go on Ancestry's site, it says, why did the estimate change? And Ancestry says that they have better tools for telling regions apart, especially closely related regions like Ireland and Great Britain. We also have 16,000 reference samples now instead of 3,000, which helps screen out less likely regions. So again, yes, they can find out what your ethnicity is through your DNA, through spitting in the tube, but I'm thinking that a lot of their answers are based on the amount of people that are testing and where they come from. Now, obviously, they're right to an extent of what ethnicity you are, but if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of exactly where your ancestor came from or how many of them came from a certain place, they have to continue testing more people that come from that region, and then from there they're able to expand their percentages more correctly. So another question that was asked on Ancestry is how have the latest results been improved? It says there's more regions, so with advancements in DNA science and more data, we're able to divide the world into more regions. With more regions to work with, we can typically make a more nuanced estimate. I don't know if I said that word right. And then they said larger sample sizes, which makes sense. The more people that test, again, the more information we're getting. It says we determine your ethnicity estimate by comparing your DNA samples of DNA from people who have a long history in a region. As we get more samples, our picture of what DNA from a region or group looks like gets better. We've added more than 13,000 new samples to the original 3,000 in our reference database to give us our clearest picture yet for each region. So I guess the question lies is, will this change again in the future, and why? And so it does say, it says it could change. They don't know 100% for sure, but as we get more data and the science behind DNA analysis improves, we may also be able to provide even more precise ethnicity estimates, which makes sense because even with DNA from back in, say, the 60s or 70s, it has improved so much, just even in just like the criminal world, of being able to attach people's DNA to who they are, where it wasn't like that back in the 70s, 80s, 60s, whatever. So I'm sure it's the same thing with this Ancestry DNA. As the years go by, there'll be easier ways to determine certain things and to be able to tell you more things about your DNA. So I guess it is what it is. Now, I don't know if everyone automatically gets this update. I do know I opted in the beginning to keep my sample, and they can keep it forever. And I know some people are like, oh my God, that's crazy, the government, whatever. I don't care. I'm not a criminal. I have nothing to hide. I originally did this to find my family, which I'm so happy I found them, but I also just want to know about where my family comes from, and like whatever happens in the future that they can use my DNA to whatever. I honestly could care less because I'm not really worried about it, and so it is what it is. So back to my ethnicity and how it was affected or changed. It wasn't affected that much, but I will say, for instance, I always knew before I did this test, when I met my mom's side of the family, that they were Irish English, and I knew my dad was black. So I pretty much knew that for a fact because that's what my family told me. And I can tell just by looking at them that they had a very strong European background on my mom's side. And then clearly my dad was black because I'm mixed. So that was just obviously not brain science. So originally, when my results came in, my Ireland and Scotland, which I believe is just all Ireland, I don't believe there's any Scottish in there, it decreased by 9%. So now it's saying I'm 28% instead of the 30 whatever percent that I was. And so that doesn't really surprise me because I do know you get 50% of your DNA from each parent. And if my mom was half Irish English, you know, that probably fits in about there. And on top of that, even though my dad's side is black, if you have any black in your family, you probably have white because you have to date back to slavery and all that junk. So if you're black, you definitely have some white in you somewhere, some point in your DNA. So I'm sure that some of that Ireland also comes from my dad's side somewhere. I don't know where, but I'm sure it does. My England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe, which is my English side of me, it actually increased and it went up 16% more. So now I am 24% England. Which, that doesn't surprise me. I was actually surprised how low it was when I first got my results. So now that they've updated, that makes more sense to me. So that I get. My Cameroon, Congo, and Southern Bantu peoples, that also went up by 12%. So now I'm 21%. A new thing that popped up that I wasn't before was Benin, Togo. Not really sure. No, that's in Africa somewhere. But before I was 0%, and now it's saying I'm 15%. So that's clearly on my dad's side. My Ivory Coast, Ghana decreased by 3%, so now I'm only 4% instead of 7%. And then my Mali decreased by 2%, also making me only 4% of that. Now, my Nigeria, originally I was 20%, and now I'm only 2%. So I don't know, that's just what it is. And then my Native American originally was 1%, and now it's 2%. So what I did find interesting is there's a few other ethnicities that they were saying I was, and now they've taken them away completely and said you're 0%. So those that I'm no longer, I was 2% Scandinavia, not anymore, 2% Finland, Northwest Russia, 2% African, Southeastern Bantu, 1% European West, 1% Asia Central, 1% Iberian Peninsula, 1% Asia South, and 1% Senegal, and 1% African South Central hunter-gatherers. So basically, before I was 51% European, I was 49% African, and then 1% Native American, and now I'm 52% European, 2% Native American, and like 47% Black. I'm pretty sure that's right. So basically, I already knew I was more white than black before, but now you're taking even more black away from me. So I'm feeling like, even though it's still in the high 40s, I'm like, you're taking my blackness away from me. So that's a little, you know, I don't know if I love that too much, but it is what it is. So what's really funny to me is that, of course, I had to check my son's ancestry because my younger son did the test, and so I wanted to see what his updates were, and he's like super funny because my son literally has been telling his friends out here in California that he was Spanish, which he is 0% Spanish because I'm not Spanish, his dad's not Spanish, and his dad is like pretty much black. You know, I'm sure there's some white in there somewhere, but that's pretty much what he is. And so we're like, where are you getting this Hispanish from? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And whatever, it is what it is. So, funny thing. So, my son's DNA, his Mali decreased by 4%, so now he's only 8%. His Ivory Coast, Ghana decreased by 3%, so now he's 7%. And what they added in to be new, which was interesting, is he's 1% Vietnamese, which was interesting. And they also added in 1% Iberian Peninsula. I'm sorry, no. They added in Iberian Peninsula 3% from Spain. Grant you, 3%, I get that means that, you know, he has some Spanish in him. And 1% of Vietnamese, he has that in him. But that does not justify his overall DNA. So he feels like, oh, now I'm going to tell people at school I'm Vietnamese and Spanish. I'm just like, you cannot tell people that. Like, you're black and you can say you have some Vietnamese and some Spanish in you, but you're predominantly black. But he's like so silly. He cracks me up. And so that was what changed for him. So basically, he has a lot of black in him. And so I don't know, did I? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So oh no, that's my so Southeast Asian. I don't know why I didn't screenshot his white side of his ethnicity, but that's still in there. So we obviously know that because he's my son. So, but that basically what changed for him was the Vietnamese and the Spain. He thinks like he's Vietnamese and Spanish now, so he cracks me up. And so I went in and also checked my husband's because that's administered under my DNA. Not my DNA, but it's administered under my email address. And so we found out basically his stayed the same for the most part. The only thing that changed, which was new, is that he's 2% Portugal, which is Portuguese, which is kind of cool. And he also was added into, he's 1% Native American, because before he had 0 Native American, and he was like really upset because he was always told there's Native American on his mom's side, Native American on his dad's side. So he got his little 1%, so hopefully he's happy with that. And that was it on his. Yes, so just a couple of updates. You know, if you guys want to go check out your ancestry, just, you know, check it, see if anything changed, see if anything drastic changed or anything cool. I'd love to hear about it. Definitely leave me a comment down below to let me know what you've learned about yourself. And yeah, so I just wanted to go over my ancestry results really quick, and that's what it is. So thanks guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll talk to you guys later.